So every morning when I start work, the first thing I do is leave work and go down to a cafe like a regular normal person and get a coffee. You're often there with me.
I've seen you do it more than thrice.
Yeah. So you know the drill. You walk in the doors of the cafe and you line up at the till to place your order.
The cash register.
Then you wait for it and stuff like that. But you know, sometimes when you're lining up at the till, I don't know if you've seen this, there's people who are not good at lining up in the queue to order. You know, there's sometimes...
They're sort of loitering in the vicinity.
They're loitering in the vicinity of the queue. You know, you get some people that are sort of, maybe they're in line, but they're not.
Are they looking at the cronut? Are they lining up to order? You don't know.
Or just looking into the middle distance or leaving criminally long gaps between them and the person in front.
I love that. I do. I love it.
To the point where I'm like, are you in the queue? Are you not in the queue? I don't know what's going on. Now,
you're going to mention my one biggest beef, I'm sure, but if not, tell me when.
Give me your beef.
Queuing at bars, you fucking morons. 4 tills, long bar, and they all line up in a thin little pencil behind one till, and I'm looking at them going, what are you doing? This is how you queue at a bar. Run at the bar as fast as you can, politely and yet not
so more of a not quite a queue, but a ram of people towards the bar.
Like all bars throughout history until the last 10 years.
Do you know? They might say that that they're better at queuing there.
Oh, they're definitely better at forming a line.
They're putting a line in where you didn't have a line.
Here's the question: how much do you need that fucking line? There are 4 tills, 8 bar people, and you queue behind one.
So you're saying here that
rush the bar
Gen
like
Z
normal
are
people.
bad
at that
for queuing.
In bars, they're dreadful. The number of times I've been caught out, like I walk up to a bar and there's this long, thin line. I see a bunch of other tills and I go, like a normal person,
Yep.
I walk up to the bar and I get these, or the 12-year-old barman goes, oh, no, you got to go to the end of the queue. And I'm like, but there's 4 tills here. Cool. And I go to the end of the queue because obviously they have my drug.
So tough for you.
But it really confused me because I don't know when it happened. When I worked in bars, when I went to bars, you didn't do that. You went to the bar and you found a gap.
Up to the front.
Yeah, and you kind of learn how to wiggle and wind and how to get the attention, whatever.
Previously there was no queue and we've added queue. And we're claiming they've added it for this?
I think unless you mean queuing is only being in a long straight line. If queuing has other forms, then there was different kinds of queuing.
All right. I accept that what I'm about to say may be potentially a bigoted thing.
You mean ageist?
Yes. Potentially that I might be generalizing about a large group of people in society and saying...
There are studies that say the more intelligent people tend to stereotype, so that just marks you as smart.
Obviously it does. But here's the thing. Often it's your youth, your Generation Z, who, I'm sorry to say, team, I love you. You're beautiful people. I love your work. But it seems like you don't know how to queue properly.
Welcome to our Wholesome Show.
The podcast in which we two academics knock off early to grab a beer and dive down a rabbit hole. I'm Will Grant.
I am Rod Lamberts. I know how to queue.
You know how to queue?
Yeah.
Are you good at queuing?
Oh, I'm fucking tops.
Top level queuer.
Top queuer. Or because, I grew up in an era where it was different. Is it true that Gen Z really are that shit at queuing? Because I suspect it is, but you probably have done the research.
Mm-hmm. There are queue researchers all over the place doing a lot of things.
I'm a queuist.
Yeah, no, totally. And there's sort of the sociological research on how queues work and what it means. It's like it's a social structure and it's sort of embryonic, it emerges. I'll go in some of that a bit. There's also a lot of psychology.
Yep.
What will make a queue feel like it's long, feel like it's short. And as you have mentioned in the past, there's a bunch of corporate consumer research where people are like, okay, how can people feel differently about a queue? Disney, for example, heaps of research on.
You can't shorten it. Let's make it feel nicer.
So firstly, we know there's a bunch of sort of structural things that will influence how people might feel about a queue.
I'm going to go with length, girth.
Length, girth,
smell.
Yeah. No, definitely smell. Definitely smell. So each queue is going to be different. It depends what you're waiting for. It depends the room you're waiting.
Are you in a prison or in a school?
Yeah. How important the thing is.
Yep.
You'll wait a few minutes for something where you'll wait a long time for something
Trump rally.
The color of the room. the smell of the room. Yeah, they make a big difference.
We're sensitive organisms.
But I wanted to go into some cultural things first. So
All right.
this is about, different people.
Let me guess. Whitey can't queue.
Whitey can't queue. No. Cultures all around the world.
Wait, is that some racism I don't have to cut?
No, actually, there is some whiteys that can't cure. Firstly, say there isn't a huge amount of academic research actually tracking different queuing behaviours in different countries, which is bizarre to me. I really would have thought.
I would have thought the funding would be enormous.
So the UK often claims they're the world's number one queuers. They love it. I like this. They will often actually put out specific guidelines. So Wimbledon, you've got to queue up for tickets, and there's a 30-page PDF
on queuing,
on how to queue,
how to dress, what attitude to adopt,
what bearing to wear whites in your queue.
Are you allowed to eat and drink in the queue, or does it depend what you're eating and drinking?
Yes, it does depend. There's levels. Some other countries though. This one was surprising. So the Germans love a bit of order, love a bit of rules.
Wait, the Germans?
Yes, but and this comes from a Quartz article where people were just reporting anecdotes of how people feel about queues in different countries, and but coming from people that live in those countries and are from those countries, so they're kind of
they know.
Yeah, they know.
They know.
And they reckon, okay, Germans love order, but aren't great at queuing. So it's often unclear, they reckon, where the end of the line is in a German store. But you have to try and find, like it's an ambiguous line, and you have to try and find it. You might ask around, and they'll tut at you if you don't get it right.
Entschuldigung, fuck off. Okay, so like the ending is fuzzy.
The ending is fuzzy, yeah. It's sort
but
of
you know when you're in it, right? Once you're in.
I think so.
Okay.
But then sometimes, like supermarket queuing is a free-for-all sometimes in Germany. People barge past each other to get their goods on the belt first.
Just like Aldi, German brand, no
I think
surprise.
so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was a surprising one. Hong Kong.
Oh, come on.
Orderly. Loves a queue. Like
British and Chinese jammed together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, they reckon you'll find lines everywhere in Hong Kong. People respect them, and they're fast and they're efficient. No one's cutting in. Mainland China?
Less so.
Less so.
No, there is an order. It's just we are not capable.
Maybe, but apparently their queues in front of a bus stop or a local bakery or something like that quickly devolve into chaos when the time is right.
To the untrained eye.
Yeah. So all of this is to say that there are cultural differences between different countries. So
and generations.
Yes. This is the thing. Again, there's not heaps and heaps of academic literature on this.
Which I'm not going to lie is disappointing.
But it does seem like Gen Z is different to other generations at queuing. Some data here that does exist. One survey in Britain, and admittedly these are from reputable websites like Topgolf and TripAdvisor.
They're my go-tos for facts.
I know, but they were the only ones who've
should
done
I get the vaccine? I go to TripAdvisor and golf.
Gen Z are more than twice as likely to push in front of a queue than baby boomers.
Really?
Yeah.
Push in?
Yeah. So
in England?
This is in England.
Okay.
Another study found it was 7 times as likely. Like 40% of Gen Z will go, yep, I'm happy to push in. 6% of baby boomers. So
I do not truck with a push-inner. No.
Well, here, flipping this around.
And my wife has pretty much disemboweled people in any country. If she sees someone, like, they don't need the language. She's
Many people.
Very clear.
So here's the flip side to this.
Yeah.
Gen Z is way less phased by queue jumpers.
You would hope so, because it's normal.
Well, there you go. Only 28% of them think it's bad, whereas 66% of baby boomers are like, no, that's bad. And
then why have a queue?
Well, I don't know.
I don't mind if you push in, then why queue?
Yeah, exactly. So
we're back to the anarchy.
So there's a big difference there. There's some other findings that seem to push in different directions that suggest different attitudes to queuing. So one says that young people may have more tolerance for waiting times in restaurants and theme parks.
Really?
I think it's about what they're waiting for.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I think that varies a lot. There's things that baby boomers won't wait for, Gen Z will wait for.
Like prostate exams. Baby boomers, I mean. I'll wait for that.
Probably. Whereas your Gen
Z
is...
Do you want to get in early? No, Rush. It's fine. You go first, please. Please, madam.
So there you go. Yeah, those. Or flip it around. Gen Z might wait for, queuing up for the new iPhone or for the new sneakers or whatever is new and cool.
Part of the experience. You want to be seen in the queue.
But baby boomers are like, why are you queuing up for shoes? I think they would be
Unless they're baby boomers from the pre-wall coming down, East Berlin or
Oh,
something.
yeah, sure, that's
But then
fine.
they're like, as if there isn't a queue everywhere.
But another one that's weirdly inconsistent with the idea that Gen Z are happier with queue jumpers is that young people are more likely to have queue rage. Now, I don't know if queue rage as in like you just get rageous at
Like, there's a line, I'm going to go on a slaughterfest.
I don't know. People getting really angry and going insane, sort of like
Grouchy.
No, I don't know if this is angry with people pushing in or just angry at the existence of the line and it's like, this is fucked. This is
Have you never had that? I've had that.
oh yeah, I wouldn't call it queue rage because I'm keeping it in. I'm bottling it up.
That's
what we
healthy.
should-
That's what you should do.
So I've been trying to understand this. So I do think there is a difference going on in how people queue, in how younger
Generationally?
people,
Yeah,
in how younger generations are queuing now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so what might be causing it?
Lead in the drinking water
Lead in the drinking water.
in the last 20 years.
We've taken that out though. There's less lead.
lead in the drinking water.
Would ruin queuing. Yeah, nice theory. I didn't put that one down.
Well,
I got you.
we'll
your
research
usuals.
it.
It's the pandemic. Maybe people went
Socially
weird
impaired.
after that. They don't. We don't realize how close people should stand or not or anything. Yeah, that's legit.
I can see some of that. Some people take the 2 meters and turn it into 4 when there's no need for one.
Maybe it's social media. Maybe
Because they're on their social media devices and they forget to move forward in the queue.
yeah, could be like literally looking. You're stuck on your phone and you forget to look up.
Haven't you done that? How many times have you seen that? We've been in a queue and you kind of look down and you go, for fuck's sake, keep walking or get out of the queue. I don't care which you do,
Look,
but mate,
yeah, so that could be something else.
Yeah.
Another one is social media as like it's making people weird at interacting with humans in the real world.
general,
as opposed to, good at interacting with my online friends, bad at interacting with my offline queue enemies.
the IRL experience.
I saw some people say it was a lack of classroom discipline, which is just... I know.
Bring back the rod.
No, they were like, literally, back in my day, we had to line up outside in 2 neat rows every day.
And if we fell out of the queue, they'd wrap us over the knuckles with a bit of 2B4.
beat us bloody.
Yep. And one of my eyes popped out and I fucking deserved it.
So some people think possibly it's
The
classroom
problem with young people today is not enough violence in their day-to-day experience.
But there is one theory.
Perpetrated in a way that they can no way resist. They're right. They're right.
So could be. Some people,
Fuck off. I mean, come on, truly.
And this person is next step to national service. Like
100%.
national service for 14-year-olds. Make them
And
learn
as a
to queue.
65-year-old, I say it should be up to 64. There is no question. Made me the man I'm not today.
But there is one last possible explanation that I really like, and it's lack of queue fitness.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
I don't think it's the
Yes.
whole explanation.
No, it is. It is.
But this
Stop
goes,
recording. We're
this
done.
goes back to what you were saying before about you being a good cure. But I did see a couple of generational anecdotes in that Quartz article I mentioned.
Did my name come up?
No.
And there's this guy.
No, but these were particularly post-communist countries. So China, Poland. So here we go. I'll read this quote. Younger generations of Poland people, frequently hear from their parents and grandparents about how good they have it. They don't have to stand in 5-hour-long queues just to get basic household products such as toilet paper. That's what they were forced to do in the scarce times of the communist rule in the country. Lines were such a big part of life in that era that government research agency in 2011 put out a game called Q, which is like Monopoly, but for queuing in Poland. I don't know how it's a game, but anyway.
It's just a long, thin board. You don't even roll the dice. What you do?
You are
Each
further
die,
in
the
the
dice actually says 1 minute, 2 minutes.
But they reckon, people in the communist era, they were pretty used to queuing. So maybe they had a queue fitness that says Generation Z don't have that anymore.
There are a lot of anecdotes, like infinity anecdotes about queuing in the communist eras.
And this is where, it's not just the communist era. This is where I wanted to go. My favorite article that I read on this was one from 1969 by Harvard University sociologist called Leon Mann.
Queue specialist.
He's a queue specialist. It's one of the most important articles on queuing that there is. But
Well, you don't have to tell me that.
But the thing that he did is, and this will make you Melburnians proud, is that
They're always proud.
he came down from Harvard University to investigate the queuing up for tickets at the MCG for AFL games, for big AFL
Oh,
games.
don't give them 2 reasons to be arrogant.
I know.
We're Melbourne and we have AFL.
So I thought this is a nice moment for Australia to make its international record of
Not Australia, it's Melbourne.
Oh, stop it. The queue of 1965 was perhaps the most remarkable, for in that year, 25,000 people waited for 12,500 tickets, some of them for over a week in mud and drizzling rain.
Whoa.
Melbourne doesn't have the best weather in the world. That's
No, it does periodically. Every 10 minutes, there's sometimes a bit of sun.
Queuers erected a shantytown of tents and caravans outside the stadium, and conditions, according to the Melbourne town clerk, rapidly became squalid and unhygienic.
Yes, the smell of human urine and feces
Now, this is
wafted through Prahran.
Well, this is where man, like a sociologist, got a little bit old school in his language that you might not use now.
It's what I experienced in New Guinea.
Well, not far off.
Right.
Accommodations in the first part of the queue resembled a refugee camp. The first three families in line, numbering approximately 30 men, women and children, pitched a Bedouin tent on the sidewalk fronting the ticket box and settled down to a 6-day wait around a blazing campfire.
A Bedouin tent? You can tell because of the Persian carpets.
Well, yes. Yeah, he didn't need to do that. But
and camels.
But this is lining up for tickets to like the AFL Grand Final or the final season or something like that.
For millennia, the Bedouin did.
6 days. 6 days. Some guy.
Right. And
some
that's
guy,
in the late 60s.
Yeah, that was 65, but it kept going in.
Wasn't a lot going on back then, not anywhere in Australia, really.
Nothing else to do.
No.
Nothing else to do. Some enthusiasts moved out of their homes officially and took up formal residence in the queue.
That's great.
5 days before ticket went on sale. And it must be a badge of pride for these people.
Of course.
The General Secretary of Collingwood Club, Gordon Carline, received a letter addressed to Mr. Alfred McDougall, care of the queue outside Collingwood Football Ground. And so he had to walk up and down with a letter that was addressed to
McDougall! That's great.
So they had a whole bunch of
sorry
systems.
for kicking the shit out of Melbourne. I mean, obviously, the only reason I'm angry with them is because I'm jealous.
I am quite in awe of anyone that will wait 5 days for anything. I would not.
Like in a queue, you mean? I've waited 5. I've sometimes waited 6 days for certain things.
Yeah, sure. You're waiting for your deliveries and things like that. But
that's what I
in a
meant.
Queue, no. They had a whole bunch of systems that they do to make it. You have a shift system, so people would have a couple of hours on, a couple of hours off, like they'd
tag in for each other
in a family or something like. Yeah, you can go to the toilet and stuff like that.
They had poo in the queue.
No, you don't poo in the queue. You're allowed to duck off to do that, and you mark your space like either with your family or a box or something like that. But occasionally riots would break out, and they'd burn people's place markers.
It's not really right, is it?
There were also
one little bit of paper.
It's unfair.
It is unfair, but it's not a right.
There are also professional queuers that would come. So
what do you want to be, son? Musician, lawyer, queuer? Not the cure. Queuer.
So this is 2 days before the ticket sales opened at the Melbourne Stadium. 20 students flew from Tasmania to the mainland to join the queue. The airline company which hired them to buy the tickets provided them free return flights, accommodation and taxis during their stay. So basically they were paid $1 an hour each to stand in the queue for 5 days. So there were some people doing it.
When?
In 1965.
That's not nothing.
It's not nothing.
No.
There was also...
My first job was in the 80s and that was $3 an hour. So I'm thinking $1 an hour in the 60s. Not
to stand still?
Not too shabby.
Yeah, probably.
Well, no, to slowly shuffle forward.
Oh, what a way to learn.
They do get exercise.
I'm sure they're playing hacky sack the whole time. But,
as is traditional.
There are also counting boys that had run up and down and count the number and would tell people at a fee like 10 cents what position they are in the queue and pass around rumors and gossip and things like that, what they knew about how many
fucking
tickets
great job. Come on, that's awesome.
It's such a Dickensian job. Sorry, want to know your number? Want to know your number?
Golly gee, mister.
But anyway, they seem to have had a great old time of it. And yeah, this was not everyone. But people maybe had a bit more of a queue fitness
back then,
50 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
So...
Well, because we have now internet queuing, don't we?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things here is that so many big ticket items, your new Taylor Swift concert or whatever it is, you're queuing online, and I'll guarantee your Gen Z have a lot of fitness for pressing the refresh page.
They can finger a keyboard like you would not believe.
The ticket tech page, and you refresh to try to get in. And I've seen people working hard to get into those ticket sales, but none of the fitness for standing outside in a line for 5 days. Now, I'm not saying which one is right.
I've experienced the electronic one years ago. I was meeting a buddy, not from England, nor was I, but we were meeting in London. and Queens of the Stone Age were playing at the Odeum or something, the fancy theatre there. And he was in Samoa, I'm in Australia, and we were online queuing. We were taking in shifts to queue for tickets. And it took for 3 days, we're queuing for tickets and never got them. And it wasn't until we got there they said, oh no, they weren't available to internationals. It didn't say that anywhere on the website.
Oh my God.
But they'd let us get in there and we're bashing the tickets and bashing the refresh. That was my one and only more than a couple of hours queuing online.
I do want to know that the records for number of people like queuing, like, because I know that there are people that were on multiple computers when Taylor Swift's tickets were going around a few months ago. Hitting the F5 on a few different computers.
Yeah,
to
with
try
elbows, toenails, they're doing it all. Bang, 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 bang. They've got moves. They're like jugglers.
Yeah.
Fair enough too.
So that's one other possible explanation.
Yeah.
I've seen some other people talk about it in terms of egalitarianness, like a queue is an egalitarian thing. Like we're all in it, first come, first served, and we all look after it. It's a system that sort of is meant to be.
Because you can afford to be in the queue.
Yeah, there is something about that. So maybe there's a bit of, the rich get around this anyway. They have other queuing systems. Or
even being able to. Think about American voting systems. I remember hearing this, when they say, well, you line up to vote and you have to do it on a weekday or you have to do it on the weekday or whatever it is. And one of the arguments is, well, people who cannot afford to take 10 minutes out of their jobs.
Totally.
So the queuing itself might be egalitarian, but the ability to actually line up and wait 5,000 hours to vote.
I think the point is queuing can be egalitarian. It's an ideal, in an ideal situation it is like
once you get to the queue itself.
But you look at I think American voting queues is an excellent example.
Yeah.
You look at some of the let's say booths that might have a lot of white voters. The queues are very short.
They have those?
But there's a lot of booths around there, so the queues are very short. But in poorer areas, more urban areas where a lot of black voters are, sometimes the lines get incredibly long, and so it literally is a different rationing. So
and then you get that. What is it? Oh no, the clock's cut off. You've been in the queue for 2 days. It's like no, but voting's finished.
So maybe Gen Z don't believe the bullshit. They don't believe that queuing is an egalitarian thing, and maybe they're thinking, screw this.
I say don't blame the queue. Blame the context.
Hey, I found out a few other queue facts for you.
Yeah.
Before I give you a verdict on what I reckon is causing Gen Z to be different.
Okay.
So Stanley Milgram, famous psychologist. He did a lot of famous studies, but he did a queuing study.
Did he? Well done, Stan.
In the 1980s.
Good for him.
Participants in the social experiment were told to approach a queue between the third and fourth person and calmly say in a neutral tone,
"Get out of my way, cunt."
"Excuse me, I'd like to get in here." So just saying, I'd like to get in here.
Great.
Nothing more than that.
Old school psych would have rocked.
After stepping into the line and facing forward, only 10% of deviant queue cutters got ejected.
Only 10.
Yeah, something like there's a lot of frowns that you're getting, but most of the time,
was there ever one where he said, "Okay, do that," but then face the wrong way? Because that would be cold. You get to the queue and then turn around.
There is I didn't find
like
find
doing it in
study.
a lift. Get in a lift and face the wrong way. And just watch even sideways. People's expressions are priceless.
Look, there absolutely people doing weird things like that. It's absolutely. I did read this story about queuing in India. And it was just a personal anecdote, so it didn't really tell anything. But it was this woman was saying she joined a queue, and this rather large man came up behind her and pushed his belly into her back, and she was like, "Oh, this is gross. I'm going to turn sideways." And
did he shuffle around?
No, he came a bit further so that his belly was resting in her elbows. It's like he's getting a belly hold.
Intimate.
So I did like this. So this was. How close you should stay. So not what happens when you face the wrong way. This was a 1970s study where they sent invader children.
Invader children.
I don't know how they got 5-year-olds to do this, but they got 5-year-olds to stand less than 6 inches behind adults in a queue for the theatre. I don't know. The reactions of adults differed depending on the age of the children.
Yeah, and the disposition of the adults.
5-year-olds were elicited a positive response. It's like,
aren't you adorable?
10-year-olds and above were greeted with a negative response. So it's like, you're standing too close, you little weirdo.
Yeah, fuck off, freak. Yeah, because they're old enough to know better.
Here's one that it counted the most successful ways to queue jump, to cut in the line. So don't use these in front of Rod, but if you do want to know what's going to work,
yeah, I'll find out.
So open invitation, that's when there's a space between people there, and you act if you think the gap is the end of the line and join that spot, which is my favourite.
Ignorance is always the secret though. Like, sorry.
That was a good one. The chat and cut, which start up a conversation with someone in a good spot on the line.
Oh, and then rub their stomach and step in front of them.
I mean, if it's your friend, then you're legitimately, that I feel like
you can't get mad about that. Yeah, I agree. Like you kind of go, but that's fine.
I'm going to be late. Telling a lie to people.
Maybe you are going to be late.
The sorry, where you just go, sorry.
But keep being a shit.
And just keep being a shit. Yeah, so you just...
Someone goes off, sorry, just keep saying, that's a great one.
And the final one, I just have to ask a quick question to the person up the front. So you go right to the counter and say, I just have to ask a quick question. And then while you're there, you just buy the tickets.
So I got away with murder with the first iPhone I bought. We were queued up. So it was the iPhone 2 because iPhone 1 wasn't as huge, and I always wait for the next, the second product.
You're not an early adopter.
So my wife needed, she was like, I don't know about this Mac rubbish and this iPhone stuff and blah, blah, blah. I just need a new Ericsson. And so we went up to the
Ericsson?
local. That's what she was into.
Oh my God.
Pre-Mac phone, pre-smartphone. So we go up to the Apple store in town. Huge queue. Everyone's standing there, everyone looking bored and waiting, and they've got the, the red ropes, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, anyone here not for an iPhone? And my wife puts her hand up, and cool. So I wandered in with her. And he goes, gets the phone. He goes, and can we do anything else for you? And I said, can I have one of those iPhones? He goes, yeah, sure, man. and I walked out.
So all of that talk of hating queue jumpers.
I hadn't intended to. But I hadn't
intended to.
Once I got there, I'm like, this is going to work.
I
figured, I'm here now. Let's see what happens. He's like, yeah, no worries, dude. And I thought, you fucking clown.
Oh, there you are. You massive dirty queue jumper.
It was a shitty one too, because that was like the first real big one that was around, and the queue was long, and Canberra doesn't queue like that. Fucking wild.
Oh my God.
I almost felt guilty.
All right, so a few other little queue facts for you. We're going to spend an average of 4 years of our lives waiting in queues.
I didn't need to know that. That's based on a lifespan of...
An average lifespan.
Between 20 and 90.
Let's say it's 80-ish. Yeah, you're going to spend whatever that fraction...
4 years.
It's impossible to know what fraction that is.
5%.
Yeah.
And that's waking life too. Oh.
I don't know if that's physical cues or it counts being on hold or something like that.
I don't care. That's all horrifying.
But we are happier when we know there's people behind us. So,
other people's suffering does calm me.
Oh,
that's definitely true.
No, but I always feel like an idiot. Like if I join a queue at the end and there's no one behind, obviously you join a queue at the end, but there's no one behind and no one comes. I'm like,
you've done a lot of research, it seems. I don't think you do. I don't believe you.
It feels shorter if there's something to do while you're doing it.
Masturbate.
Sure.
You haven't been in those queues?
Sure, no, I haven't.
Well, that's why the genius came from, when I first heard about all this queue stuff, was when they, like in DMV equivalents here, vehicle plate registration places. And one time after many, many years of lining up and just going, I'm going to be here for the rest of my life, I walked in and they said, take a number and sit down. And I thought,
that's nicer.
This is magical.
That's nicer.
And then I read some stuff about it. Then. Yeah, but also it means you're not worried about it.
Yeah.
You can sit down and relax. It doesn't change the time, but it changes the experience of the time.
That's something that definitely came up in research. Anxiety and uncertainty make it seem longer. So you reduce that. You just go, okay, well, I can't do anything. The number will come up. Then people are far less worried about it.
And a phone company, the one I'm not with anymore, I won't mention who they are, but they're quite large.
Fine.
I walked up to their store and went, I need to get a phone. And they said, cool. Give us your name and your number, and we'll text you when it's 5 minutes away. Yeah. And so I spent 20 minutes cruising around the mall spending money I didn't need to spend.
Sweet.
But then I didn't mind. But if I'd been standing there for 20 minutes, I would have been eating people's faces.
So that's why there's a whole bunch of business research into reducing queue times, making queues feel, if you have to have a queue, then make it feel better, make it feel like a party or
I haven't had that one yet.
No, but you can imagine like outside the sneakers. The brand new sneakers are coming in. Everyone's a community. You're like,
you're in the queue. Have some Coke.
All the AFL football tickets.
With Bedouin tents.
But this is a community, so that would make it feel more fun.
Yep.
So what do you reckon? What's your wholesome verdict on why Gen Z can't queue properly?
Look, I think there are differences in what we consider to be polite and reasonable.
Yep.
And so the way I used to queue, and everyone used to queue at bars, was no one was particularly offended because it's what you did. You kind of elbowed through, not violently, but you kind of wiggled your way through. You learned how to get the attention of the barkeep, or you hold your money out, and you learned strategies. That was as normal. So I think that now would be considered very rude, but for us that was standard behaviour. So there's a change in what is considered reasonable.
I think so. Yep.
I don't think it's necessarily about queuing per se. It's just like
No,
you know,
I don't think it's about. I think queuing is an example phenomenon, a symptom of wider things, and you know, changing what's considered reasonable or how you play in space. That might be to do with social media, rise in anxiety, or rise in different interpersonal relationships.
we'll just call it generational factors.
There you go. There you go. It's okay, Gen Z. I think your queuing is interesting, and we can all learn to embrace everyone's different style of queuing behavior. But if you leave a big gap, I am definitely going to pretend it's the end of the line.
He's going to punch you in the back of the head. I've seen him do it.
All right, in the mailbag. Okay, I just wanted to...
What you got?
A shout out, a thank you to Flying Sherlock, who had very nice things to say about our Paul Erdos episode.
Oh.
But of course, corrected our pronunciation, Paul Erdish. Erdish. So there you go. From Deb, on our people demonstrating things as safe, had a university professor, an environmental scientist, who drank a glass of glyphosate in front of the class to prove it's safe.
At his funeral, he was well remembered.
It's not.
Fuck me. That's a big call.
You asked a while ago, just an update. You asked a little while ago about seventh son of a seventh son.
I did.
I just did a little bit of a rummage on that one for you. And turns out Pericomo was not really a seventh son of a seventh son.
That prick lied to you about. He's lied to me about a lot of things, but I thought I could trust him on that.
There's a couple of different definitions. I mean, you can have sort of the maximalist version. So you've got to have 7 sons all in a row, no daughters in between.
No deaths, blah, blah, blah. There must
Well, I don't know about the deaths or not.
be. Nah, if we're going to be pure.
Okay, so the next one is sort of you have 7 sons, but you might have daughters as well interspersed in there.
But that's the lazy man's version.
That's the middle. No, the lazy man's version is the 7th child, and you happen to be a boy of a 7th child.
Show me on any Iron Maiden, discography where it says 7th child of a 7th child.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So
that's my go-to.
So Pericomo was that last type, and I don't know if that really counts. I don't think you get magic powers for that.
If he did, he didn't use them well.
Leave him alone. He's all right.
No.
They're super rare. Actual 7th son of a 7th son.
They would be.
And getting
the
much
magical
rare.
powers.
You know, you can do the maths on this. So it's the odds if a family has 7 kids.
Yeah.
The odds that they're all boys is like 1 in 128. So it's like 50% times 50% times 50% to get there.
Yeah.
And then if you go to 7 sons again, it's like 1 in 16,384 of those families that have 7 children each time. So it's super rare within that.
For sure.
And the number of families that make it to 7 children becoming less and less. In the 70s in the US, it was like 6% of women got to 7.
I thought it would have been higher even then. Okay.
In 2006, it was down to 0.5%. If you work that out, the odds on a family having a 7th son of a 7th son now seems to be like 1 in 655 million. So
not surprised.
Maybe in the world there is 1 or 2, 1 born every decade or something like that. I think
wild.
I think something of that.
This is why they have magic powers. You need rarity to get magical powers.
No, totally.
That's just science.
I get how
that is
magic
just
powers work.
science.
I get it. Niger is probably the place where you're most likely to find them.
Really?
They still, just in the sense that they still have 6.82 births per woman. But anyway, you wanted to know what it gets you.
What does it get you?
In Western Europe, it's pretty good stuff. Mm-hmm. So you get foresight and healing in England, being able to enchant snakes in Italy, being able to...
What a fucking use. Yay.
I know.
I can't make money. I can't turn water into wine. Blah, blah.
Healing is fine.
But this snake, look, watch this snake. It's mesmerized by me. That'll be $5.
Well, in America, supposedly a 7th son of a 7th son can discern everything that lies in the depths and interior of the globe in part.
So volcanologist.
Mind guy. Yeah, he knows
there be
geology.
gold.
Yeah, there be gold. Like 7th sons know where the gold is.
It's like 7th son of 7th son. Geologist, eh?
Congrats. Yeah, and healing is a common one.
Yeah.
So Thomas Lupton wrote in 1660, "It is manifest by experience that the 7th male child, by just order, never a girl or wench being born between."
A girl or wench.
Yeah, I don't
Congratulations, it's a wench.
I don't know. I don't know what.
It's not a girl, it's a fucking wench.
How can you tell from day one? It's a wench.
That's the way she came out.
Doth heal only with touching through a natural gift, the king's evil, which is a special gift of God. Some people did say that you shouldn't have to pay your taxes if you're a seventh son of a seventh son.
Fair enough. That's very unusual. Why not? Why not?
I get it. But
So if you put that out there might be 2 born every 10 years.
yeah, this guy said they put a bill to the Scottish Parliament in 1682 that any tradesman having 7 sons together without the intervention of a daughter is declared free of all public burdens and taxes. Because what they're saying is
What they offer to the economy. Yeah, okay.
Like,
And that's just 7 sons, not 7 of 7.
Eastern Europe, it's not so good.
A lot of things
and
aren't, though.
Well, yeah, it means he might be a vampire or a werewolf.
Everything. I don't know how many episodes we've had.
Love
this.
you, Eastern Europe, but yeah, how often do you end up?
Look,
it's a vampire.
his head is crooked. Must be vampire. This man, only 2 shoes.
Vampire.
Vampire.
But
his car broke down in middle of road, fucking vampire. Or werewolf, because cars very werewolf. Fucking hell.
But you can get out of that
you?
if you are baptized 7 times in 7 different churches. So that'll rub off the vampire.
I suppose you could do that in a day, unless it costs a lot.
The only ones I could find are actual 7th sons, and there's probably more out there, obviously not documented by history.
Yeah.
An NFL Hall of Fame footballer, Len Dawson, and Ivor Powell, a Welsh football player, who started his life working down in the mines for 2 shillings a day, but escaped that to.
Of course, he was in the mines.
Yeah, there you go.
Of course, he was.
Because he could see all of that.
And then he went, no, football.
So,
That's
listener,
impressive.
if you are a 7th son of a 7th son, write in and tell us what powers you have.
No, write in and tell us where the gold is.
So what else have you been thinking about?
Oh, I've been thinking about. I got a couple of things came to mind. Do you have? I didn't realize this because it turns out that people who do have this don't imagine anyone else doesn't, and vice versa. Inner monologue, like an inner voice.
Oh,
so like when I'm thinking about something, or I'm trying to calm down, or I'm trying to get myself going, or blah blah, there is definitely a me in my head that talks.
yeah.
But I'm told there are people who absolutely do not, and neither side can make sense of the other, having or not having it.
I don't know if I do. I need to run a test to know. I feel like I've got a voice.
You seem like someone who does, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
And then it goes further. As I was looking into that, someone's tried to give an inner monologue to AI.
Oh my God.
Anyway, that's one I was
Yeah,
thinking
okay. That's an interesting one. I like that.
It is interesting.
Well, I got one. This one came from a listener, from Liboy. Libois. We'll go with Libois. Liboi. Wants us to do an episode on Christopher Havens. I don't know if you've heard of this guy.
Oh, he's the penguin juggler and manicurist.
No. He's a man serving a 2-decade prison sentence for murderer who turned in prison to advance mathematics and published a bunch of significant discoveries in number theory that he had to work out by hand.
I read something that wasn't about him, but he came up. And if it's not him, then there's another one.
There's another one.
Yeah.
Look.
Went to jail, was almost functionally illiterate, as I recall it.
Awesome.
And then not so much.
Good on you.
And maths in particular.
Good on you. I mean, don't do murdering, but if later you want to turn to maths.
And to be fair, if you're going to be a murderer, at least eventually do something useful as well.
Yes. Or unless you
On the scheme of murderer to not murderer, if there's steps along the way,
all right.
be a nice murderer or a useful one.
Any others?
Like Dexter. My other one, Mariko Aoki. She wrote an essay in 1985 and put it in the Japanese magazine Hon no Zashi, which is book magazine.
Thank you, Japan.
In which she related how she came to the realization over a number of years that every time she walked into a bookstore, she really needed to take a dump. Every time she's in a bookstore.
What?
Got a crap.
That is not a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. I can't believe that.
Readers wrote into this magazine and said, you know what, me too. So it became known as the Mariko Aoki phenomenon. And it's also related to what's called the lock-in key syndrome, but I'll save that surprise.
I like that. I do want to know. Well, I want to
Who
know.
doesn't? Who doesn't? How could you not want to know that?
No, I'm worried. I'm worried that it might be contagious. That if I,
Yeah,
if
like
I hear
sympathetic
about
spearing
it,
you.
if I hear about it, then suddenly I'll be like, that makes a lot of sense. I do need to also.
Well, look, Burkholt's manual of Swedish birds. Jesus, I need to poo.
All right, I got one more that I've been thinking about. We just got a new washing machine. Old washing machine crapped its dacks.
They do that.
And yeah, so we bought what I thought was the same one. It's I think it's 13 years later or whatever, 15. So It was the same one,
Should have been, yeah.
but they updated it
Oh.
to add internet. And
You don't need that. Well, first you got to get your Wi-Fi password. So I just want to wash my jocks.
this is what I want to know. Like it's weirdly got less useful functions than the one that was 10 years ago.
But a lot more of them.
Well, oh my God. But it's like there's standard stuff that we want to do. Like, okay, you just want to rinse something and then you can't do that. Can't do that.
No, not until you've logged in.
No. And so it got me thinking, how many dumb things have internet that don't need to have the internet? I just want a list. I just want a list of all of these terrible things.
We've got to do that. We can just get angry together.
All right.
But in a great way.
Bid you adieu.
Remember, if you have things to suggest
Yes.
or stuff you want to show us, make a comment in the YouTubes,
Or anywhere where you can comment.
wherever you can comment, or ping us an email, cheers@wholesomeshow.com.
Love you.